First of all, good morning. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Marold Studesville. I'm the CEO and owner of Transport Financial Services. We are a one-stop shop in the transportation industry that provide support and services to new brokers, carriers, freight forwarders to be able to help them get started. Who are we? We are a one-stop shop. We work directly through the USMCA, which is the United States, Mexico, and Canada alliance to try to provide support. And that support right now incorporates everything in transportation for brokers and carriers. We also provide funding solutions. The funding solutions right now is one step to help to establish the credibility for brokers. A brand new broker finds it very hard unless they're very well endowed with cash. They have enough money to be able to provide support that they need for their business. For the first 6 or 7 months, they're building. They're building because they have to find out they have everything in place. They also got to find out about shippers. They reach out to the shippers where they can try to get set up with their load boards. They need to get all their contracts, all this stuff available. Now, for those of you, initially we had talked about the factoring and the load boards and everything else. When we start on this here first stair step, your stair step is your paperwork. That's your paperwork for everything that you need to do in business. In some of the previous seminars, like I said, we talked about networking, marketing, and factoring. For those of you that have submitted email requesting to be a part of this, you will receive the recorded portion. We recorded this about 4 weeks ago. We was going to go back into recurring, but I realized that the recording right now is specific. I had guests that talked about these things, so therefore there's no need to repeat. You will receive a copy of this. On each step were the consultant and also the process agents. The process agents is one that does your BOC3, take care of your MC numbers and also anything that you need to update the FMCSA. That's what the process agent does. The consultants are transportation consultants that have been in this business for many years. They understand how to be able to assist you at reaching shippers, getting loads, how to be able to bid on load boards, how you can be able to work in the transportation business to dispatch. The funding is the factoring companies. The factoring companies is the one that we deal specifically with right now is Riviera. They charge 2.5%, but they set you up with business, and believe it or not, they do everything that you need to do in order to research to make sure that your shippers are solvent, that they pay on time. So as when you go through your shippers, you know that you're going to get paid, but you get paid because through your factoring company, they pay the carriers to diminish claims. They pay you to make sure that there's not a problem. The load boards is what you post all the loads on for the brokers. They post the loads, the carriers can come in and they bid on these loads, and that's what you're able to make your money on. But generally, if it's done through the factoring companies, they pay the carrier, then they pay you. I want to go back to something. My concern in this, especially right now, during the COVID, there are many challenges. These challenges I found out through transport over the last couple of weeks and through clients. They're going through the process. If they were out of business and they were, say, a broker before, they want to get back into business. That's called a reinstatement. If they go through a reinstatement, it has to go through a financial. You have to have a bond to be reinstated. That bond is posted on the carrier detail page on the FMCSA, and it indicates that yes, there is a broker bond required. Yes, it's on file. That's done electronically, kind of like with Western Union. Western Union, you go in, you want to send $100, you give them that $100, and they do everything set, and then they push that button, and that $100 goes to the person that you want it to go to. They confirm all the information, and you know immediately that that money is available for receipt. That's the way the reinstatement, except the reinstatement also requires not just the action from the from the bond company, it requires that you pay them $80 That $80 is your reinstatement fee. And there's additional $70. 50 goes to the I'm sorry, to the process agent, and we get about $20. That's for the processing of this to ensure that once that entry has gone on to the FMCSA, that you're able to wait. And it was a period about 72 hours, but 72 hours is not weekends. 72 hours is weekdays. Now with the COVID, there's been an extension of time. Some may go up to 96 hours and some maybe a little bit longer. It's according to what problems they perceive, if they get the documents from the process agent in a timely manner, because everything comes through the financial, through the process agent. And there's a process agent in all 50 states to ensure that if you're ever sued, if you need data updated, that you can be able to take that and you can go through that process agent and get everything processed immediately through the FMCSA. When you come into companies, and we found out that there are certain companies that they've had a bond before, they may have had an LLC, they may have been had an owner operator, just a simple corporate structure. They want to go through the Secretary of State's office, number one, because they may be moving to a different location, and they want to say move from New York to Florida. They have to get that set up for the state of Florida. They go through the Secretary of State's office, and many of these Secretary of States, they're closed. They have a skeletal crew. So you have to email information. You have to wait for this stuff to come through. It is not as simple as walking into an office as the way it used to be. It takes time, but the documents itself identify exactly what your corporate structure is, whether it's an LLC, and there's more protection in case you ever sued. If the company don't have the money, they can't come after you indirectly. If you go through a name changes, especially when you look at fictitious names. A fictitious name could be, if you set it up, if you can't get to the Secretary of State's office, if you can't get to anybody to make your fictitious name, you have a birth certificate. That birth certificate is your name. You can set it up under your name. And for an EIN number, you're waiting to go through the Internal Revenue Service. Remember, each year you file taxes up under your Social Security number. You can set it up under that and make a DBA any name you wish. But don't go through ex-corporate structures and find a name and seem to think that that's the best name for you. You could find yourself into a world of hurt because you could find a company that have ran up $1 million worth of claims. And periodically, the factoring companies go through because money's been owed, and they see that name and figure maybe you've just got a new MC number, and that makes a lot of difference right now with you getting your credibility. But the credibility is established, number one, through you. Everything that you do, your EIN number, the DBA, get a DBA, it's a nickname. If your company name is Transport and you want your DBA to reflect what you do, if you're moving automobiles, and you could put, Auto Transport Service, that's just a DBA, that's a nickname. It reflects what you do. And that is how you be able to reach out to your clients and make them aware of everything that you're being faced with. Other challenges is getting started. If you set your corporation up, and like I said, and you're unable to get it finalized because you made mistakes in it, you can't go back through the corporate office or through the Secretary of State's office. You can start your business, and then once you get your business set up, you can go back and say, okay, fine, I couldn't get my fictitious name. And people think a fictitious name is just a name you make up. It's not. It's the real name of your company. Like your name is your real name. If you want your nickname to be JoJo, you could call yourself, hey JoJo. You can nickname yourself whatever you wish, but try to make it one that's going to be compatible to the services that you're doing. Because remember something, until you get started, you can't make money. You can't make money. You can't go through a factoring company. You can't do anything until you get yourself set up through the processing agents and through the FMCSA. Once they see that you're active, then you can make that happen. There's a 10-day contest period on all brand new brokers. So a new broker has a lot of challenges because during this 10 days, they determine, are they going to do business with you? You may have had dual driver's license. You may have had DUIs. It could be a multitude of things that they could look at through the states to determine if they're going to accept you. You cannot start your business with the factoring companies. You can't start it with the FMCSA until you're actually active on the system. And that comes from the reinstatement to become active, which takes, like I say, it was about 72 hours. Now it's a little bit longer because of COVID. And after that 10 days that you get set up to be able to start your business as a brand new broker, then they authorize you to be able to authorize your authority. That authority can be received in two ways. One way is that you wait. If you wait but at that 10 days, then they grant you authority. If you wait the regular system, it could be up to 17 to 25 days before you get your authority letter. You can't do anything without the authority letter. Another way is pay about $17, $17 to $20, and there's a source in DC called DC News that you could pay the date that your authority becomes active. You can be able to pay that. They will email you. You can download your authority letter, and you're ready to rock and roll. But there are a lot of other things that you need to be doing this process. Next. Now, what happened to dispatchers? At one point, and that was just before they changed over to MAP 21. The dispatchers right now was actually carriers. And these carriers, motor carriers or truckers, they serve in the capacity as brokers. They was doing that same role as brokers, but they had direct communication with the truckers themselves. So they was working, they followed the guidelines, and they was putting people through the same thing as a broker. After MAP 21, and MAP 21 is moving ahead for progress. That was done in July 6, 2012, when President Obama signed off on it. It went into effect on October 1st, 2013. What that did was it increased the bond or the BMC 85 from 10,000 to 75,000. A lot of things changed. A lot of brokers could not afford that, and they went out of business. So therefore, that's where the reinstatement of different things come in at, because they could not afford it, and they didn't have the 75,000. Now they have it set so you can be able to either pay through insurance companies. They offer the BMC 84. The BMC 84, some require 10%. Some companies require the whole 75,000. The FMCSA requires a 75,000. With transport, what we do is we try to make it affordable. We put people on a fixed rate. You can be able to apply for a loan, and it's posted, and you make monthly payments to be able to subsidize so you can start running your business. A freight forwarder. A freight forwarder is no more than a broker and a carrier. A freight forwarder works with companies like Walmart or different large companies when they have large shipments, and these shipments are destroyed, or there's a turnover in a truck, or they are all damaged. They send these to an area where the freight forwarder, he handles the shipments into a holding area. Once they're completed, then they contact the people, and they can be able to pick these shipments up. They've been fixed. Everything is set in order to move forward at what they are doing, but they are both brokers and carriers. They require additional liability insurance. Freight forwarders also have the ability, if they're moving through the federal government, and there are bonds that they set up, freight forwarders can also move overseas through international as well.
Hello.
And a lot of freight forwarders does. When you're working with other businesses in transportation, you got to look at two things. They want to know one thing: how am I going to get paid? How are the carriers going to get paid? That's where the factoring companies come in at. We have a factoring company that we work with, which is Riviera, and you will also receive the email on Riviera Finance that outline their rates. Their rates is 2.5%. They process payments generally within 1 day. that one day could also put you into a perspective where you could be able to charge that against your carriers. So it's like quick pay. So you not only you're getting the benefit of the credibility, but also you're able to help these carriers. So if they need the money to move forward for fuel or whatever the case may be, they're paid. And that's a workable situation because it gives you the credibility you need as a broker in order to move forward. If you need to be referenced as far as getting consultants, we have consultants that's been in this business a long time. They work both as carriers, they worked as brokers, work in IT, work with government contracts, whatever your needs are in transportation, the company that we work with as well as transportation. So we want to not only establish your position that you're able to pay, but also that you're learning. If you don't know enough about transportation, don't know enough about load boards, about the shipping databases, or know enough about how to be able to do negotiations and stuff, this is where your consultant comes in handy. They can set you up on a retainer, or they can work with you, say for 15 minutes and make your questions very specific. That lets you know that I want to find out about how to reach shippers. I want to find out how to be able to get negotiations. I want to find out about the load boards. And this is something that you need to know because if you don't, you're going in blind. So understanding is the best thing in the world. And it gives you a decision-making basis. Number one, what consultant do I want to use? Well, number two, what load boards do I want to use? And what are their functionality? Some load boards deal specifically with just automobiles, and that's central dispatch. They deal with J-Tracker. They help you to set up and establish your credibility in the industry where people can look in there and they can see what you do, how you do business before they even consider doing business with you. This is where the consultants and stuff work out. And with Riviera, they also do consultants and they look at everything on these shippers. If they pay their water bill pretty much, they know if they're solvent, make sure that you don't mess around and choose a shipper and that shipper don't pay you. And then you're going to pass that excuse down to a carrier. I can't pay you because the shipper didn't pay me. You need to know a creditable company, and that is Riviera Finance. Next slide, please. Load boards. I talked about the load boards and what they do. The load boards are no more than where loads are posted and you're able to go through and identify. The one that we deal a lot with is DAT. DAT is the granddad of all load boards. And it puts you at the top of the list whether you got $20 or $20 million. If you're a member of DAT, it puts you at the top of the load boards and they don't play games reposting or going to other companies where you find yourself into a position where now you begin to double broker. And when you use the load boards, that's something that you really need to understand. Talking to a consultant, if it's for that 15 minutes, tell them I've never used a load board before. How do I do this? Be specific. You get the answers, the questions that you ask. Do not ask the right question, you won't get the right answer. They can go through with Zoom, they can go through with on your system, and they can help you. When they was using Skype and everything else, they could show you how that load board works, the entries that you put in, how you can be able to find out the best load board for you. It may be a load board that's just free. You may not need to go into that, but with us, you get 14 days free. You get some of the discounts on load boards right now based upon the companies that you do business with. Some provide you, like I said, with us, we give you 14 days free. And there are other avenues that these companies do because they want your business. If you come on and you're doing business with a good load board and the shippers right now is moving you forward, that means that you have the ability to be able to make money. You have the ability to be able to reach these people and know that now you are beginning to be successful. The two load boards, like I said, that we specify is DAT, Central Dispatch. They have 1, 2, 3. They have a lot of load boards, and you can be able to go through. We have a site called eTruck Book. All the load boards are listed there. All of the financials are listed. Everything that's in transportation, transportation specific is in that. So you don't have to wonder and guess or take somebody else's opinion on what is a good load board. But my opinion, that is the very best, but it may not be the one for you. So when you talk to the consultant and you get 15 minutes free, you can talk to the consultant and say, look here, I'm really concerned. This is where I'm starting. How do I be able to determine which load board is for me? These are my products. This is commodity right now that I'm moving. Which is the best one for me? You wouldn't go to central dispatch if you're moving commodities or just moving freight. You would look at that. You look at Shipley. It's a lot of different boards, including Trucker's Edge, which is for carriers. All the carriers, you get 30 days free at Trucker's Edge. There's a promo code right now for transport that puts you in that. The affiliates that we work with is a network. From the time that you say, I want to become a broker, we are there to assist you at each step of the way. So it's nothing that you have to try to figure out. Once you say that you want it, the stress is off for you. And we already have a plan that we can design for your particular company. Next slide, please. Okay, the type of load boards. Type of load boards will depend upon which one you want to sign up for. Like I said, if you want to move freight, if you want to, if and there's truckload boards, the LTL, pay for smaller shipments, the courier, pay for smaller trucks and stuff. Like I said, the Sprint, cargo, car haulers, all of these load boards depend upon what your niche is. You determine that if you want to move cars, you're going to go to central dispatch. You're going to move freight. If it's going to be small loads, you want to make sure there's a load board that's set up. So if you go out, say 300 miles, you want to try to, if you go out with a full load, you want to come back with a full load. You want to make money in and out, in and out. You want to make money across the board. And you can determine the load board right now, like I said, by the type of service that you're providing, also by the consultant. Ask this consultant, these are questions you want to know directly. Let them know what you want to do. If you don't have experience in anything at all, sometimes car hauling is the best. It gets you started. As a car hauler, you serve almost like an agent. Whereas if you go through the car hauler and you got your leads and people want to have their cars moved, you get paid on top. And then at the end, it's a COD. So therefore, you're not worried about not being paid. You're not worried about the liability issues because you're relying very, very seriously upon the carrier. You vetted them. You know that these carriers right now, they have the insurance. You've checked through Safer. You check their online, their safety record. You check everything about that carrier to ensure that once they represent you and you post them that they're going to move the loads, they represent you. They are the same as you. So if they go out and they act crazy on somebody's dock, to act a fool or do something wrong, it's going to reflect upon you. And many of these here shippers, they will try you. They will try you a load at a time. They want to see, number one, can you move this load? If you can move this load, then they'll try you maybe on another load. And they might mess around and give you 100 loads. They say, you know what? This is a good broker. I see that they paid these carriers. And the reason they're concerned about it, because if they don't pay the carriers, there's something, and we have not discussed, the Section 7 in the Bill of Lading. If you don't pay these carriers, there's a recourse. They can go back to the shipper and try to get the shipper to pay. So the shipper paid you and you didn't pay. Now they're going back to the shipper to try to get paid because you didn't pay them, or they'll come through the financial, or they'll try to come back at the factoring company. But that keeps everybody into a safe position where you know that people are being paid. Why? Number one, the factoring company is doing it for you. So that's a safety mechanism for you. It's a safety mechanism for the financials and for the surety bond companies. Many of the companies, they may have low rates, but guess what? They will cancel you as quick as you can drop a hat. If you start running up claims or you have inquiries, they get rid of you. They don't want that as a part of their business platform. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we talked about that. We talked about support. Now, to be successful. When you be successful in this and you're looking at the marketing strategy right now depends upon what is your product. If you're gonna market through the social media, you have to have internet. You have to have a good computer. You have to have a website, and you have to have your marketing right now targeted to the people. You wouldn't contact the people at Central Dispatch if you're moving freight. You don't market that to them. You advertise to a focused and targeted prospect, just like this group right here. And I'm very pleased that you were able to attend. This group right here will need to understand how do you generate business in transportation, transportation Pacific. How do you be able to reach out to shippers? What do you do? How do you be able to chat with the individuals in the industry? We have it, and also in e-truck book, you can chat with anybody in the transportation industry. You can get the transportation directory, which is like a 411. It's a yellow pages of everybody in this industry. It's an update from Indeed in order to be able to prepare you for jobs to careers. You can be able to send out chats. If you got a concern or a problem, you can go on to eTruckbook and it's free. You can get all of the carrier and broker databases for the United States, Mexico, and Canada, begin to build your network. You can also be able to look into the shipper database and see that what we provide. Look at what's in there, and it's for all 48 states. And it's everything that's involved with the companies that deal with commercial business and for shippers. To the load, when you go into a load board, you can call those people 100 times a day and say, you know what, I'm moving this, I don't know how. Could you please assist me? Their customer service is set up to provide support to you. They want to make sure that you understand exactly how to use a load board, because if you do, you will continue. If you can't navigate it, if you can't use it, generally you'll try to find something else that's more to your benefit. Having access to the employees and clients and stuff directly, like I said, that's something that's pretty much done through eTruckbook, or if you have a directory otherwise, and since some of the factoring companies are provided to you as well. But you want to understand how to have direct access to potential companies, all of that, and the employees is in eTruckbook, and many of the companies do provide you some shipper databases. They provide you some of the listings of companies so to get you started off in business. You need a full support staff, a staff that's open on a 24-hour day basis to provide you all of the services and support that's referencing transportation, and not just transportation from a trucking standpoint, any of the requirements that the FMCSA has for you. All of their requirements right now are listed. If you go into the FMCSA, you can go through, you can double check everything on carriers, you can double check everything on brokers, you can understand what all of the qualifications for each one is, so you can be able to meet those requirements and you don't try to fill out forms and not understand what you're doing. And you can get the help with all of the forms, because if they're not filled out correctly, they won't be processed. They'll send them back to you. You want to take a look at people that you're looking at as far as business partners. Deal with someone that has credibility. If you want to work with another company, if you want to work with carriers, you make sure that number one, they have a good, clean record. You don't want to mess around and tarnish your effort and to build a relationship, and that's what you're building. That I do relationship right now starts with you, to the shipper, to the factoring company, to the carriers. It's a relationship that you're trying to build. And the more you put into that, the more you nurture it, the more you take time to make sure that all that information is correct. And you have to make sure that you update your records continually. Now, we have an update on carriers and brokers every 90 days. They have a biannual report that they have to complete through the FMCSA and Department of Transportation. That report generated comes down, and we can provide that in that e-truck book. There are other companies that provide some of the same information that you can be able to get. So not necessarily is transport the answer. My concern right now is not just a bond, it's for support. And that full support right now is advocated through every member of TFS. If there's any question that you may have, we also deal with the Transportation and Logistics Council. That's a team of attorneys out of New York that's been in business for over 50 years. They have gone to court and they litigated, and they have books and books with question and answers. They got about 9,999 questions that have been surveyed, they've gone through courts, they've been litigated. So you got about 999 uh, 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 questions. Say if it's 1,000 or 10,000 answers, these are answers that you can be able to rely upon. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, the transportation directory. I just talked about that. The transportation directory is something that you look at. It's a yellow pages. It's a 411, and it has a toolbox. You see it on the screen. You know, what has the wrench and the screwdriver. That's what you use when you're out there. You're working on projects. But in your case, your projects right now is the industry. This toolbox is filled with every form, contract, and agreement that you need for shippers, carrier, broker agreements, everything that you need as you're starting your business. And during that 10-day contest period, you can be working on everything that you need. You can download these forms. You can make them yours. They are current, everything in transportation. When you download the forms, if you need to get a mechanic, we have a mechanic, and that mechanic is a consultant. The consultant can be contacted and say, look here, I have these forms and all these here's on the carrier broker agreements or the carrier shipper agreements. What do I do with these? And they can help you to be able to make sure that number one, that they're yours. Put your name on them. You're not plagiarizing. These are industry standard forms. Everything that you need to do is right there in that toolbox. You have to reach out. You wouldn't pull a screwdriver out to handle something that would take a wrench to do. You want that screwdriver. You wouldn't get a regular screwdriver if you need a Phillips. It's the same thing in this here. You have to know what tools to use in order to move forward. With the right tools, you can get the job done. Okay? And it's one for everything. In this right here, you're going to find that a lot of the actions that are required, they're stipulated by the FMCSA. You can go into the FMCSA, and that will be on our website on TFS Mall, all of the requirements for a carrier, for a broker, for freight forwarder. You can go through and you can see what do you need in order to start your business. You can find out what company you want to use. If you want to use a factoring company, if you want to go through and use what financial, what company do you want to use to be able to process and take care of your business? You look for credibility. Now, TFS has an A+ rating with the BBB, been in business for over 47 years. And work with only a reputable network company. We're not jack of all trades. We work with a reputable company to be able to help you to make sure that whatever your decisions are, that they're great decisions. We set that communication channel up through eTruckbook where you can talk to people in the industry all over the United States and the world. We have TFS training, which is also set up, and the training is one that we had set up just before the COVID, but it was going to be set up strictly as a make sure that we can update you on everything that you need. It was going to be online, not completed, but we're working with about 150 videos that we're transcribing over to audios that you can be able to get the transcript and you can understand everything about transportation. There's a fee, as everything else, but we're working on that right now, and it's open for review. At this point in time, there is no fee. And everything that we do right now is based upon providing support and the services that you need in order to be successful in your business. We are a 24-hour company. You call transport at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You're always going to get the same thing. Even though the main office is closed, an answering service will transfer those calls, and generally those calls will come to me or whomever I assign. You're always going to get the very same thing at 4 o'clock in the morning that you would get at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Transport Financial Services. Can I help you, sir or ma'am? I want to make sure that whatever we need to do to provide support and serve you, that you have it. Any questions you have, there are no dumb questions. What affects you may affect 100 other people, but maybe they didn't ask the question. But when you do, they're happy you did, because now this is information and we can provide that to you.